And Imam Shatibi, rahimahullah, is one of the great Usuli scholars of Islamic tradition. He was an Andalusian, and he's very interesting because his two most famous books, one of them is called Al-I'tisam, and the other is called Al-Muwafaqat. And if you read them, you will think they're written by two different people, because they have very different approaches to a lot of things. But the Muwafaqat is the one I think that is more relied upon in terms of its usuli principles. The I'tisam is a book that has been abridged and has been spread by certain schools that like his approach, because he, in that book, is very harsh about what's called bid'ah, or innovation. And he takes a position. Traditionally, the ulama differentiated between different types of bid'ah. And Imam Shatibi takes a position in there that he talks about bid'ah haqiqiyah, which is something like praying 6 prayers a day instead of 5. And then what he calls bid'ah idafiyah. And the bid'ah idafiyah is an innovation that part of it is sound because it's got a basis from a dalil, a proof, but there's something that's been added on to it that he considers unacceptable. And so Imam Shatibi is talking about basing dhikr or ta'abbudat on visions. Now, one of the things that certain people argue is that you cannot do any dhikr that was not given directly from the Prophet ﷺ, which is negated by many hadiths where Sahaba did their own things. We have du'as from the Sahaba that were not from the Prophet ﷺ. And we know that one of the Sahaba in a prayer, when the Prophet ﷺ said, Sami Allahu liman hamida, he said, Rabbana wa lakal hamd hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. And when he finished, the Prophet ﷺ said, who said that? And they were all silent because they were worried. And then he said, who said that? Because I heard the angels they were saying that, and so the Sahabi said, I said it, Ya Rasulullah. It was just an ilham, and the Prophet aqarrahu. So he thought it was a good thing. He said to Bilal one day, Bilal, what are you doing in your actions? Because I heard, when I was in paradise, I heard the footprints, the footsteps ahead of me, and he knew that was for a reason. So Bilal said, I never have lost my wudu except that I felt Allah had a right upon me to renew it. And I never renewed it except that I prayed 2 rakats. And the Prophet said, Fahuma, that's what did it. That action was from Bilal. It wasn't from the Prophet ﷺ. Bilal did that because it wasn't a bid'ah. Wudu is from the deen and 2 rakats is from the deen, and you can do those any time. But he put those two together, Bilal. Now, some of them would say that is okay for the Sahaba, but people after that can't do it. That's another opinion, because the Prophet has to agree or yuqirru. But what Ibn Ulubbin and other Usuli scholars argue is that the fact that the Prophet was teaching that was indication that there are things that people will come up with. And we know in the hadith, أَوْ عَلَمْتَ أَحَدًا مِّنْ خَلْقِكَ, about the names of God, or something you taught one of your creation. So Imam Shatibi says, وانظر أيضا من هذا الأسلوب نص الشاطبي. This is the man quoting him على جوازه أنه المستثنى من أصل ممنوع الاستدلال بالرؤية فقال أخطأ قل كل يوم 40 مرة يا حي يا قيوم لا إله إلا أنت. So Imam Shatibi says قال هذا كلام حسن لا إشكال في صحته. So Imam Shatibi says about one of the great scholars, Imam al-Kattani, in this section, he says, using vision as a proof for something. He says, the vision is only for the prophets. And so you cannot, by Sharia, use it as a proof. إِلَّا أَن تَعْرِضَهَا عَلَى مَا فِي أَيْدِينَا مِنَ الْأَحْكَامِ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ. Unless you put it in front of the standard of what we already have from the ahkam of the Sharia, so from the rulings of the Sharia, and if the ahkam al-shar'iyya sawwaghatha, if it deems it acceptable, then one can act according to that vision. Like it's been related from Imam al-Qattani, rahimahullah, that he said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ, and he's an imam, and he's a thiqah in hadith. Like if he relates a hadith, we trust him. So if he says he saw the Prophet ﷺ, if he's not a liar about the outward knowledges, he's not going to lie about a vision, because to lie about a vision is lying about revelation, because it's a portion of revelation, and that's the greatest sin that you can do. So he said, I saw the Prophet in a dream, and we know, من رآني في المنام فقد رآني حقا فإن الشيطان لا يتصور بصورتي. Whoever sees me in a dream has seen me in truth, because the devil cannot take my form. And that's also true of the Kaaba. If you see the Kaaba in a dream, it's a true dream. So he says, I said to the Prophet ﷺ, ask Allah that he will not cause my heart to die. And the Prophet said to me, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say every day 40 times, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, La ilaha illa anta. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, La ilaha illa anta. So that's something, if you want to do it, you're free to do it every day, if you can. If you don't want to do it, that's fine too. Because it's from Imam al-Qattani, but he saw it in a vision from the Prophet ﷺ. So in that way, what Imam Shatibi is saying, this is good. There's no problem, because the Sharia says that you can say Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, La ilaha illa anta. That's a Quranic sigha, that you can say that. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum are from the asma of Allah, muttafaq alayhima. There's no disagreement about them. They're from the names of Allah bil ijma', because they're in the Quran, the Hadith, and it's clear. So for instance, in some places, they do that at Fajr. You will hear that done at Fajr.